All right, we'll get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm going to share with you and what you're going to see is not just another AI concept or another isolated pilot. In collaboration with Pfizer, what we're going to share with you is a practical view of what becomes possible when a document authoring is envisioned across R&D lifecycle. Imagine one platform that helps you and your teams move from fragmented effort to connected execution and moves you from manual drafting to guided generation. That is the idea behind a software that we have called Regain. And at this time, we are able to do clinical study reports, plain language summaries, protocol, CTDs, module 2s, safety data, ICDs, and many more documents like that. And the idea behind Regain is very simple. We have built this product with the simple belief that creativity should stay with people while heavy lifting is done by the machines, where content generation, structure, and scale can be handled by technology. So with speakers from Pfizer and Vivpro, what I hope to show you today is what a future can look like and how it can help teams to create better documents at sort of a faster speed as well as better quality that works seamlessly. Let me start you by showing the vision.
Introducing Regain, an AI-powered platform transforming document generation. Regain accelerates the creation of every report a pharma company needs, from preclinical to post-marketing, all within a fully compliant and intuitive platform built to meet global standards. Reducing reporting time and increasing productivity through intelligent automation, Regain generates structured drafts in minutes. With built-in SME checkpoints, it ensures every output meets regulatory standards with confidence. Teams can work seamlessly with unified access and full workflow visibility, improving cross-functional collaboration. And with enterprise-ready infrastructure, Regain can scale effortlessly to support future growth. Cut timelines. Boost confidence. Let Regain turn documentation into a competitive advantage.
What we have been able to do with that vision in mind, here's an example of creating an informed consent document. All you have to do is you say to that select a type of document, load your organizational template. Then either you can upload the data, the protocol, the SAPs and other documents that are necessary or RSTs, or you can connect to the database, any RIM database that you have. Then based on the uploaded file, Regain learns what kind of data are given, it processes, and creates a structure. So think of that structure like a Lego block. Everything is processed like a Lego block, and when you auto-generate, Regain, based on its pre-training, matches the input to the output. So output is a table of content that is proposed, and when you click auto-generate, you can imagine if you have 80 sections, 80 medical writers go in and drafting a document at the same time. And in few minutes, you have a complete document that is ready for your review, and you can actually compile and get that document in a Word format that you can send it for team review, or even in fact, you can invite the teams for your review. And some of the key differentiating feature when it comes to something like ICD, what we have been able to do is take a very complex site-centric schedule of assessment table and convert that into a patient-friendly, so you can explain to them what this is. Now, this takes hours, and what we have been able to do is bring that feature to a minute. So with that, what I would like to do is introduce you to a leader who is helping us drive this vision, and she's a force behind this at Pfizer, Helen Kotze. Helen has been at the center of turning this ambition into execution for several years and helping how AI is being used in Pfizer for document generation in a way that is practical, scalable, and meaningful for all the teams across the enterprise. So I'm going to have Helen come up here and share her thoughts. Helen, thank you for your leadership and looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you for that lovely introduction. So I'm here today to give you an overview of what it took to take us from pilot through to production, particularly in scaling across the whole of R&D. What I'm going to share with you today are insights and lessons learned from my perspective of how we implemented across a whole of an R&D portfolio. So quick disclaimer. Oh, this one. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through 4 different lenses in our journey. The first one I'm going to take you through is a little bit more about the actual challenge that we had to solve. And that's the first lens. The second one is a little bit more about the vision we had for the solution when we undertook identifying a technology. The third lens I'm going to take you through is how we completed that pilot evaluation and what we considered there. And then finally, I'm going to take you through the actual change management, because the tools can be the best tool that you can have, but unless you've got teams on board with wanting to use that technology, it doesn't implement and scale. So change management being crucial, and the fourth lens I'm going to take you through today. So thinking back to our actual challenge here is within our team, we had a really ambitious goal for this, what we're calling, our solution we're calling DocGen. So it was a really ambitious goal to actually transform and automate the way we generate content across the whole of R&D. The challenge being that we have thousands of different reports across the R&D portfolio. We did an inventory and totaled up the number of reports we have, and it's in the thousands. And that requires thousands of FTE hours to compile those documents. And often the rate limiting step being that those documents are on the critical path for many of our deliverables. Something else that's really important as well is there's a huge interconnectivity between those documents. You can see the image on the right-hand side here. There is that high dependence, so a change in one document can have an impact on other documents down or upstream of that development. However, in being able to implement a generative AI technology, that's going to offer us various capabilities. So in implementing a generative AI solution, we will be able to accelerate our cycle times and increase some of our efficiencies in generating these documents, thinking about things like improving quality and enabling our simplification and standardizing our outputs across our R&D portfolio. So this was really a radical shift to implement this across at scale. So the second lens I want to introduce you to is our vision. Now, where a lot of companies do start when it comes to thinking about scaling and implementing a technology in across the R&D portfolio is they start with a fragmented approach. Often adoption is taken at an individual functional level, and you see pockets of innovation. You will also see a lot of duplicated effort, and often this type of approach does not scale. And so we took the approach here, and this is our vision. I want to walk you through from left to right on our image of what we wanted, the capability that we wanted for our teams and for them to be able to rely on. So starting on the left-hand side here, thinking about this is the science, we then move into what is known as the knowledge layer, and that has connectivity to both our data. We have various different types of data and different file types, so we want that connectivity, and also our different document types. We have huge, vast amount of knowledge and data and documents already available to us in our document management systems, and we want that connectivity into that knowledge layer for our vision of our generative AI system. In the middle here, you've got your generative AI layer, and there again, that's got the connectivity, obviously, to a large language model to help us with that generative AI solution. But in addition to that, I mentioned the thousands of different document types in the earlier slide. And so we want that connectivity to our various different templates to help us generate some of those documents. Our solution must also have agents built in. There are numerous different agents we would potentially want from a system like this, and thinking from a medical writing perspective, types of agents that we would love would be things like that can help us with ensuring compliance against our templates and against regulatory guidances, and ensuring helping reviewers perhaps doing a strategic review of our documents. And in addition to all of that, we'd also like section level authoring to be able to lock sections and be able to do a review at various section level types rather than the document as a whole as well. So there were some of the few capabilities we had built into our vision. And then moving to the next pillar, which is the actual document output itself. Collaborative authoring within that document environment and making sure it follows our processes, because with all of this, we're still following our standard operating procedures and our workflows as well. So having that connectivity leading to the output. So this is one capability that teams can rely on. So thinking about moving now from pilot into production scale, where we started off was needing to understand and having confidence in our generative AI system. So we went from pilot evaluation, the pillar on the left-hand side, and we did this in a controlled way. So we had cross-functional teams from clinical, medical writing, statistics, across the functions, inputting into the evaluation process for this pilot evaluation. And we did this for one specific deliverable type to start off with, and that deliverable type was the clinical study report. And we challenged this system. We didn't just take our most simple reports, we challenged the system with some of our most challenging clinical study reports to really understand its capabilities. And we did a user evaluation, looking at things like usability of the output and the accuracy and how complete the output was. But in addition to that, we also did a hands-on evaluation to try and get a feel for how much human in the loop is needed to generate these outputs, and try and get a better understanding of the user interface and the learning curve that would be needed to adopt this technology. And from all of this, we then had a clear minimum go criteria that we needed that technology to meet for us to be able to go live. So following this evaluation, this took place in quite a short space amount of time. This is something that was delivered within about 2.5 months with a select few subject matter experts to do this evaluation. We then moved into the go live implementation phase. So we did control go live within that one deliverable type, in this case that clinical study report, with dedicated support to the users of that system. And there's one important thing we did here to ensure success in implementing across our portfolio. So we weren't just implementing this in one therapeutic area, we were implementing it across our multiple therapeutic areas. And we ensured we must have full adoption of that document type. So there was no option to opt out of using the technology. So we had that control go live and we captured metrics. And so we needed to then scale. In that short space of time, we then needed to go live within a whole writing department to adopt this technology, in addition to our study teams to embrace this technology. And then in addition to that, we also learned that we had that minimum criteria, but there were also capabilities we would like to see within that technology. And that's something we built iteratively and scaled up in parallel with going live with the technology. And so we would build capabilities, and we also evaluated new deliverable types as well. And then we had this cycle that went round with control go live for a new deliverable type and building new capabilities. And we explained to our teams as well that this is what we term an evergreen technology, and that they expect that this is going to, what they may see today may slightly change in the future as we develop and build our capabilities. So I want to share with you a few lessons learned from implementing this technology as we move forward. I think one thing that worked really well was we picked one deliverable type there and did that careful pilot evaluation and that careful go live to truly embed that technology across the therapeutic areas. Getting functional teams involved from the start was really important there as well, to ensure that everybody had the opportunity to give their insights of what's required from the outputs. I think what came clear, though, is we had our North Star and our vision that I shared with you at the beginning, but we realised that scale wasn't going to be immediate, and it's something that we're going to build with alongside our capabilities over time. And if we'd have to do something differently, I would say that whilst we were investing in AI fluency and that change management, this happened at such a rapid pace that being ready for change management and the ability to scale as early on as absolutely possible is crucial to ensure success. And with thinking about change management in mind, that leads me to my final slide, which is regards to change management and being able to embed at scale. And as I mentioned earlier in the beginning of this presentation, a tool can be absolutely amazing, but if the teams are not prepared to use it, then it's not going to be fully adopted and scaled at use. And so that's why change management is crucial here. So some of the things we did, thinking about letting teams know what's coming with regards to the technology, getting them comfortable with that. Training in AI fluency so they can trust the technology but also understand its limitations. And also giving the correct level of training to those, like, so if, for example, users of the system receiving a different intense level of training to those that need to be aware the technology is being used. So bespoke in the training for the various users of the system. And then we also developed dedicated guidances. So one thing that worked really well is when we did that control go live, we had hands-on support, hypercare support for those users so that they had access to training and support as they went in and implemented that technology. And we also built a change champion network so they could also support their peers. So this was really embedded within medical writing as change agents to drive this through our various therapeutic areas. And what underpins all of this is measuring the metrics. So thinking about, we also track things like how many new users do we have in the system and how many different document types were generated using the system. So tracking those metrics, and then all that leads into the leadership type metrics of understanding time and some of the cost savings. And then regards to sustainability, I think this one really is important for me because it reinforces to the team the what's in it for me. Why do I want to use this technology and why should I embrace it? And so user satisfaction feedback, where that actually relates to less rework and more predictable timelines, is really what drives the scale of the technology as well. So with that, I'll say thank you for the opportunity to present today, and I'll hand you back to Praveen.
Thanks, Helen. If there's one thing you got from, there are several important things, but if one thing you got, it takes a village is an understatement for an effort like this, to do this across R&D, across every single function, and the Pfizer team is been doing absolute great job at this. For what is worth, what I'm going to do is very briefly, I'm going to show you the tech behind this, and before moving to your questions, so hopefully you're preparing for questions as well as panel discussion. So what Regain is, it's the simplest score. It's a structured content authoring supercharged by AI. What I mean is we handle every single section, as you saw in Helen's slide, like a section or a sentence. Everything is like a Lego block. Lego block gets converted in a document, and they flow from document to document. So protocol to CSR to plain language summary, or IB to CSR, things like that are manageable, and then you create once and you reuse it, but also you create that knowledge layer that Helen talked about. How Regain works, it's a very simple workflow that I showed on the ICD slide. You input the data, Regain has learned based on the previous learning, and then it produces an output that is ready for review. And also, it's important to recognize that Regain is document agnostic. It is configuration over coding, meaning if you want to bring a new set of input for a new set of output, you don't need to code. You just have to train how the work works and then produce new documents. And that's why we have been able to scale this across multiple type of documents, multiple functional areas. It also takes all kinds of input files, and the knowledge graph is schema free, so you can bring any type of information there. And at the very basic level, what users are given is a prompt level section builder. So you can change as much as you like. Also, you can keep it at an organizational level. I was going to show you a basically same ICD creation is a CSR, and you'll see similar workflow. So if you learn how to create one document, you have learned creating any document. So document creation is like now a workflow. And as long as you can train AI how this document is created, AI can basically reproduce it. And you can see using the same step. For the interest of panel discussion and question, I'm going to skip this and tell you a few features that are probably, I would say, the most important things that, in my opinion, have allowed us to deliver this vision, because it's one thing for a feature or two to work, but if you want to do this at scale, everything has to work together. So some of the differentiating features that we have brought to this party is our adaptive template builder. That's what it takes time. Every study has its own new change to the overall template. So it produces a recommendation saying, this is what I think should be the table of content. If you have built a strategy, you bring all that instructions in, and now this document is actually carved based on that document. So there's a content strategy builder built in. You can lock sections, so you can avoid rework. All the workflows are built in. And what Helen talked about collaboration also. You can invite multiple authors at the same time to work on it. All that gives you more time to think, but it doesn't come at the expense of quality. So quality is actually built in, meaning one of the other software Vivpro has is called Regulatory Intelligence Assistant, and there's a verify button. Every single piece that comes out of that, you can verify. We brought the same concept here, which is important for medical writing. Every single line that is given, you can actually click and see where did AI get it from. So it's transparent. You can regenerate and refresh with confidence. And the prompt library, we build organizational knowledge as we go along to create more reliable outputs. And then the templates. Every organization has templates. That's what makes this workflow possible. And we control those templates within Regan as well. So 4 reasons why Regan is useful is it is an intelligence assistant. It's scalable. You can grow with as many use cases. It's installed in the client environment, so your data doesn't come out. It is learning continuously and is efficient by design, so we can do full end-to-end automation. And what I'd like to show you is the last slide on this, is not only you can actually bring internal content, you can bring external content to this. And I'm happy and proud to say this is probably only Vivpro can do this, and maybe a little bit bold claim, that what we have been able to do is we are actually almost ready with this feature where we are able to bring in external data. So if you're drafting a protocol, you can go to our other software called RIA and say, hey, RIA, give me 5 similar protocols and their inclusion-exclusion criteria, and you can input here. That's the power of AI, because you don't have to read, you just have to think. You don't need to copy, paste, or read those 5 protocols. AI will do that work for you. So, and that's something, we are able to amplify those 2 softwares together. So with that, I thank you for the attention. Hopefully there are questions. Please feel free to come up here and ask questions. What I'm going to do is, we have Dr. Joga Guburu here from Vivpro and Helen, while you all prepare questions and get ready. Helen did get one question online, so we're going to basically give preference to that. And I'm going to have Helen start off with this question she got actually from somebody who's in the audience. Helen, the question is, from a pharma standpoint, what proof points are needed before leadership believes that something like this can work at scale in a regulated workflow? And then I'm going to have Joga talk about Vivpro view on this. Helen? And you can please get ready if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I think from scaling and thinking about a leadership level, what needed to see, there is that balance here between, we're very fortunate within our company, we have a mandate for AI strategy is being implemented and from a top-down perspective. And there is that AI enthusiasm. I always see that within a leadership level. And I think sometimes that leadership level, if there's a risk that can outpace the operational reality of what is possible. And that creates sometimes this AI bubble. And with regards to that, I think there is a risk that people can start to think that AI will fix everything, or we just need to deploy a tool. And I think that's then where you get the impact of pilots then failing. You have the adoption can stall, and you can think about there's some regulatory concerns. So really what it's about is trying to find a proof point to justify that value, and look at the metrics that you can measure from that, and use it for specific measurable changes, really. And then something else from a leadership perspective as well is having leadership invest in that training in AI fluency, so that you have that trust in the outputs, but also not over-trust. So, you understand the limitations of the technology, and process redesign. If you get that support from a leadership level, that's also very important.
Joe?
Yes. So before I answer this question, just a show of hands, how many of you use AI for personal use, email stuff? How many of you use AI in your organizations? Okay, cool. More people use it in the organization than personal use. That's interesting. So my task here is how does Vivpro support Pfizer's initiative with respect to convincing the leadership for their support. I would say there are 3 R's, like Dr. Kotze has alluded to. Real world use, the second one is repeatable and measurable, and the third is regulatory grade. The first one, how do we work with clients such as Pfizer, is we go through in a partnership a systematic approach to ingesting or including new document types into Regain. So we split it into 4 steps: scoping, proof of concept, minimum viable product, and then business ready. So this way, what happens is everything is programmed and predictable, as well as the users get to produce the documents themselves to decide on the business readiness, so that ultimately they are going to be useful using the system. Then second is repeatable and measurable. This is clearly articulated upfront in terms of the expectations of we need to target a much time savings in terms of calling it business ready so that we can roll it out for production. So I'm happy to say that within every 60 days, the number of documents that are being produced in Regain is doubling from like 400 in January to now it is 800 documents in March, just within 60 days. So you can see that only happens if there is users who are embracing AI-enabled Regain to produce these documents internally. Third point that Dr. Kotze raised is about the regulatory grade, because we all work in a very regulated environment. One of the unique features that we bring is both Dr. Jadhav and I have regulatory experience, so we have domain knowledge in terms of these documents. What do the regulatory agencies across the globe look for? So we not only bring the technology, but we make it technology-enabled, and we can converse in the same language with tech developers.
Perfect. I see no hands up. Another question I have, Helen, I think most of your slides, and the biggest thing I learn about is change management. So what's the biggest learning about people, process, operating model that you think have been learned through this AI-enabled authoring in R&D?
Thank you. So I think obviously the biggest one, the message I was trying to convey in my presentation was it's the people that really drives this technology and implements it. So the adoption, the what's in it for me day to day, how do I adopt this technology, I think is really important, and thinking about that change management being critical to success. But thinking about some of the other touch points there with the operating model, I mentioned that we do have this top-down mandate and AI enthusiasm, and adoption not being optional. That's definitely something that's been crucial to our learnings for ensuring scale is possible. And consistency as well, going back to thinking just of the clinical study report as one example, ensuring that you've got that clear translation of some of those downstream documents, thinking about how we structure our protocols and our SAPs to ensure that consistency across our documents, and early communication with the study teams to ensure that they're aware and they're going to embrace that technology. And then thinking about processes, having that transparent, trusted system. It can't just be this black box. The teams really need to understand the limitations and its capabilities, and that AI fluency feeding into that. And I think one of the other learnings is that simple user interface, helping with the learning curve as well, helped us with regards to implementing this technology at scale.
Yep, thank you. I'm getting a time up here. So with this, Helen will be available if you have any questions. So will we stop by E10? Demo may not have been fully captured in terms of what's possible. Happy to share that with you. And again, thank you for your time. And I hope your 30 minutes was worthwhile here. Thank you very much.